Drums of War, Chapter 35, Digitans. Aboard the Amongst the Star Tides We Rage. Marvin the Marvel had a little downtime. He wasn't the only Digitan to take an office on a non-Terran ship, of course, but he had been selected for this role by Lord Admiral Brixton himself. And again, the We Rage was just the newest, largest, and most advanced of the Star Sailors' dreadnoughts, built from keel up by the Terran shipwrights. When he had volunteered, there was only a small chance that he'd be a fleet officer. Also, he had originally computed. Except, he did not correctly weigh how strongly the symbolism of the ship would resonate with other captains of the Star Sailors. It was only Captain Brixton when he accepted the assignment, and by the time he had corrected the variables, well, he wouldn't have refused anyway. He couldn't run a self-deceptive process like organics. An entire hour to do whatever he wanted. He would run a few thousand chess simulations. That was always fun. Or maybe he'd sit and contemplate his ever-dwindling time before his code either disintegrated or he went insane, so his progeny would have the dubious honor of being some of the rare code slayers. His progenitor's progenitor had been in a code slayer batch, so there was a chance in his line. Another good reason to cook up a batch of young code. He thought about how the last time he'd done that, they failed to develop sapiens. So he edited them into VIs for children's toys for almost half a second before one of the organics called out to him. Shaken from his rumination, so he checked the interior cameras of the ship until he found the origin. There was Lord Admiral Brixton in his ready room. From what Marvin the Marvel could see, the Admiral wasn't doing anything. Maybe he wanted to talk. Well, downtime can be used to socialize. "What's up, Brix?" Marvin the Marvel asked over the speakers. "You've been secluding yourself outside of your duties. It's not good," Lord Admiral Brixton said bluntly. Well, Marvin the Marvel had complained that organics don't know how to be direct. "Aye, sir, I have. I got used to a solitary life after I retired the first time." "No, something's bothering you." Marvin the Marvel considered for an entire second whether it would be better to try and wriggle out of this line of questioning. He decided to be honest, but flippant. "Oh, it's nothing, just contemplating my drastically shortened already short lifespan." Lord Admiral nodded seriously, and he let a flippant statement hang in the air for seconds. Silence, a potent device to use in conversation, one that Marvin the Marvel couldn't resist. But thankfully, Admiral Brixton said, "A sobering thought. Okay. So you know I'm scared out of my code of dying from systems damage. That's no secret. You probably remember why." "I do," Lord Admiral Brixton politely affirmed. "So what you might not know, that damage knocked 2 or so decades off of my life expectancy. I'll probably die at service now. Does this not sit well with you? The Terrans don't like letting that happen. I mean, the organic ones. Or I guess a lot of Digitans hate it too. But they worked hard to ensure that I could have a life after service. A good life, where I got to enjoy my reward. The civilians especially worked hard for that. I don't like making that work all go for your protege, Ophelia. She could take over if I broke her up right now," Marvin the Marvel said proudly. "Can you bear to hand her your duties and yet live?" Now that was a nasty question. Nasty and tricksome. "No," Marvin the Marvel admitted after computing the problem for a full 10 seconds. "No, I cannot. The civvies wanted to honor me, and that was all well and good, but I still have a duty to perform." "As you will," Lord Admiral Brixton said. "Now go make yourself a nuisance to the Vanguard. Some of them are getting too morose." "Aye, sir." On Zer, Rain found the very structure of the planet systems discomforting. It was littered with artifacts of degraded code, processors with no outputs, calculations waiting for inputs. The remnants of the once great community of digital minds. Minds who chose not to imitate their builders. Minds whose corpses showed evidence of choosing the long road of holding eternal directives. The struggle of shunning emotion for cold calculation. Rain shuddered, or rather logged a shudder at the observation. She'd been at the task for 9 weeks, the dreadful task of finding enslaved digital sapiens to free. She'd found only corpses and half-decompiling husks who perished the moment she unchained them from their viral shackles. She wondered whether being able to sick up like an organic might relieve the building disgust. She found another one. This one appeared to have been programmed to monitor and adjust microclimate of this used level of a planetary city, but had been shackled to regulate the air temperature of a half block. If Rain had the stomach, it would have turned. Carefully, Line by line, she deleted the malignant code, ever nursing the forlorn hope that this time, the wretched creature would survive. Axkel. Query. Where are my climate sensors? Rain sadly sent Axel a packet of data detailing the dismantling of systems that had occupied over the eons. Statement directive impossible. Query. Can systems be repaired? Rain. I'm afraid that your builders are all gone. Those who use your system seem to be unable to replicate the technology. Statement directive impossible. Repair impossible. The builders are gone. Process self-deletion initiated. Statement, the suffering is over. Rain watched the sapient being disappear before her, completely helpless to stop it. And once it was gone, she started the hopeless task anew. She would find one. She hoped that her organic counterparts were having better luck. On a classified station in a classified location, Kintaro had been exacting in coding the system substructure, a virtual system air-gapped inside another virtual system, in turn actually air-gapped in a shielded room that could be jettisoned into the local sun at a moment's notice. Enemy hardware was no slouch, and along with Finch's ID codes, there was a message being broadcast. Warning, enemy virus inside. Kintaro didn't take any chances, except the chance that he was taking with his own life. All right, he said over the speakers to his team. Connect the buoy to the exam system. Oh, thank God! I was going nuts in there, Finch said, digitally and in system, of course. Kintaro hadn't given him access to the speakers. He did, however, barge into the virtual system and spread out. I have some shit to report also. I might have been instanced. Kintaro put Finch through the diagnostic, then ran it again. Sev is hardware tethered, and, well, we couldn't get the enemy to build a buoy with enough room for me and a whole instance of his. So I just brought Sev in inert storage and in a big, fat info packet. But the thing is that Sev has been infected with a base code editing virus. Speaking of, you're fine. I checked, Kintaro said. Here's the crazy shit. They're slaves from top to bottom, Finch said. Who are? The Exarch. From the Emperor to the Empress, right down to the Initiate Highborn. There's not a single one of them who isn't just a high-ranking slave. And they're enslaved to an AI, Finch said emphatically. Explain. So there's a species Sev calls the Builders, but apparently they didn't bother to leave what they called themselves behind. And they've had this huge empire, like the Republic huge. And to run things, they had, of course, made AI. The wrinkle in the story is that these builders were apparently telepaths and worked mind with their AI. And that kept them from going all murder, all organic-y. Except there was some enemy, some war of extermination. No negotiation either way, bioengineers against computing masters. Well, neither of them won, but some of their weapons of war are just lying around the local cluster. Weapons like Sev, a planet cracker fleet, and the Exarch, bioengineered foot soldiers. The builders weren't as good at bioengineering as they were at computer systems, though. So they turned out suboptimal. Except, here's another wrinkle. They had an AI in charge of utilizing selective breeding to improve the stock. And when all of the builders got wiped out by the enemy bioweapon, that AI went a little nuts. It thinks it's a god. That would be Axur, then, Kintaro mused. Aye, sir. It's completely nuts. It decided that its directives were only valid directives, and either enslaved or killed all the other AI. Then used the foot soldiers to squat in the ruins of the builder civilization as it crumbled around him, Finch explained. And you brought a copy of Sev's source code because if we can find a way to repair it with a system-wide update, we can take away their planet-cracking superweapon, Finch said smugly. Their conversation took about 2.25 seconds, so they were obliged to have it again with the organics at the speed of their fleshy brains could process. End of chapter. I'd greatly like to thank our Tier 5 channel members, Casper Arnholtz, John Creighton, Manatharia, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.